Hey, alchemists. So today I am going to talk about the difference between fate and destiny. I know in the spiritual community we often use these terms interchangeably, but there's actually a difference between our fate and our destiny. And so I want to start off with a story of Chiron, the wounded healer, because Chiron, who was a centaur, really gives us a good example of what it takes to move from our fate into our destiny. So Chiron, he was a centaur, and Chiron experienced the initial wound of being rejected by his parents. Now, the god Apollo stepped in, and Apollo was a healer himself. Apollo took Chiron in and he taught him all about the healing arts, poetry, prophecy, and music. And this all really resonated with Chiron, and he became a wonderful healer and a very wise teacher. And so people would come from all over to gain wisdom and healing from Chiron. Now, Chiron, one day, he is out with Hercules, a friend, and they're in some kind of a battle. And Hercules accidentally shoots Chiron in the leg with a poison arrow. Now, Chiron is half mortal. And so he gets very sick and he's really miserable. But he's half immortal. And so he's not sick enough to actually die. So he's just sick enough to feel terrible from that point forward. And this is why we call Chiron the wounded healer. He was never able to heal himself. Now, he got a lot of information and learning. He was able to keep helping other people, but he just could never help himself. He even asked Zeus, right? The god Zeus, and Zeus wouldn't even help him. Now, eventually, Chiron was able to die. What he did was he exchanged his immortality to save the god Prometheus. He had found out that Prometheus was being punished by Zeus, and he was pinned to a mountaintop, and every day an eagle would come eat his liver, and then it would regenerate, and then the eagle would come back and eat his liver, and this just kept going on and on. So Prometheus was also in a constant state of suffering. So Chiron decided that what he was going to do is give his bit of immortality to Hercules, and then Hercules would give it to Prometheus. And because I guess it was Hercules that actually saved Prometheus, but he saved it with this gift from Chiron. Now, because Chiron made this sacrifice, and the only intention was to help Prometheus, because of his great sacrifice, Chiron was able to die and he became a celestial being. So you could say that he moved from his fate of being the wounded healer, being the rejected child, into his destiny of being a fully empowered soul. Okay? And so in this story, we can see the difference between fate and destiny, right? Can you? Can you see it? All right, if you can't quite see it yet, I'm going to tell you right now. Fate is simply a set of predetermined conditions. Yep, that's all. Now, Chiron, in his life, he had predetermined conditions. For one, he was a centaur. His parents rejected him. And then he was accidentally poisoned. Now, so these are all things in Chiron's life that he couldn't do anything about. Right? He was born a centaur, and so he was a centaur. He could not change his parents having rejected him, and he was poisoned. But Chiron did rise above all of those things. Right? Now, we in our own lives, we have physical conditions with our body and with the circumstances of our life that we just might have to accept. That may be that we can't do anything about them. Now you could say one of my predetermined conditions, right? A condition that I have in my life is that I have the initial, I have the father wound that I never knew my biological father, that he left when my mom was just barely pregnant with me. So I've never known him. All right. And you probably have things like that too, that you were born with a condition in your life, right? And then there are circumstances in our life that we might have to accept. You know, maybe we have to accept that there's inflation, okay? And we can't really do anything about that, right? So this is our fate, our predetermined circumstances that we have to rise above if we can't change them. But fate is also more than just these predetermined circumstances. Fate is also our innate gifts and talents. Okay, Chiron, he was a very good healer. He was a very wise teacher. Now, we all have gifts and talents. We may not know about them, right? We may have to do some investigating and discover them. You know, I love songwriting, and I love the songs that I write. So I'm going to say that, and it comes to me easily, right? So I'm like, I would accept that as one of my gifts, right? I have the gift of that. But when I was 15 years old, I didn't know that, right? I had to have a few years before I started realizing, oh, I actually can do that. Now, our gifts and talents, sometimes what they are just things that come so easily to us that we don't see that it's a big deal. We don't. Like, I do love public speaking. When I found out that the top stress, like one of the top stressors, like that make people really nervous, is public speaking. There are more people who fear public speaking than death. And I was like, what? Because I love public speaking. Okay, so sometimes we have to discover what our gifts and talents are, right? We look around our lives to see what are those things that I'm pretty good at. Like, I seem to have a knack for this. Sometimes we don't accept our gift and talent because maybe we think we need to be practical, right? So we might think, well, I'm pretty good at this, but it's just wishful thinking that I could do that. And I should just get a regular 9-to-5 job, or I should go to college and get some kind of degree, right? And so maybe we think we have to be practical, and so we don't pay attention to those gifts or talents, and then we never nurture them. And so we don't get to discover what we are really capable of. Okay, so fate is predetermined circumstances, predetermined conditions, but some of those conditions could be really great. They're not just the detrimental things, right? Somebody could be born into a really big family that's really, really loving, right? And that would be a predetermined condition. Okay, so fate it's the predetermined conditions. Some of them are beneficial, some of them may be detrimental, but they're the building blocks of what we do with our life. Okay, they're the building blocks. It's up to us if we're going to rise above any of these detrimental conditions. Okay, that's fate. So we come into this life with things that challenges and things that serve us. And Chiron did choose to overcome predetermined conditions. Apollo became his father figure, and he had a father figure in his life. And Chiron used his gifts and talents to help other people. He lived his life in service, and he accepted this about himself. And so he did this. He accepted his limitations. He accepted his wound and accepted that he couldn't do anything about it. It was when he surrendered to that and gave his immortality to Prometheus that he became a fully empowered soul, a celestial being. So fate is something that we come into this life with. It's our building blocks. Destiny is something we earn. It's what we build with those building blocks when we choose to rise above the circumstances or our fate. Now, to get from fate to destiny, well, we do this through our choices. Now, we don't always see choice as that big a deal. We see choice as, well, I'm going to choose this or I'm going to choose that. Maybe I'll have papaya for a snack later, or maybe I'll have a banana, right? It just doesn't seem like a big deal. But on a deeper level, our choices affect our attitudes, right? Through our choices, we will recognize where our consciousness is. Is our consciousness in life happens to me, or life happens through me, for me, as me, right? Our choices will tell us what our belief system is about ourselves and what we're capable of. Now, we make choices all the time, but we make conscious choices and we make unconscious choices. Not too long ago, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend, Wendy, and I don't even remember now what we were talking about, but I was talking about something I wanted to do. And when I was done, she said, Deanna, when you talk about what it is you want to do and why you think you shouldn't do it now, you use a voice that's very mocking toward yourself. I was being judgy toward myself for wanting something, and I was unaware I was doing that. I was making an unconscious choice that reflects an unconscious belief that I'm not good enough to do that, right? So this is how our choices are showing us where our consciousness is. Now, since then, of course, I started noticing, I was just talking really judgy to myself. Girl, come on, you're doing a good job here. The universe has your back, right? You don't have to be judgy toward yourself, okay? Now, we do make unconscious choices. We have these habits, right? And we may be doing them and we're not realizing we're doing them, like being hard on ourselves and judging ourselves, right? Do you get up first thing in the morning and check social media to see if miraculous things happened, right? So I've also been keeping track of my social media time, right? Because it was unconscious. I was going on there unconsciously, right? So where are we coming from? We can see that in our choices, right? In our choices. I can't do that. That would be too hard. That is, life happens to me consciousness. That might be really hard to do, but I'm curious about it. I'd like to explore this a little more, right? I had a dream about it, or I'm inspired, right? And so that would show us that we're in the consciousness of life happens through me, for me, as me. Now, this makes all of the difference between being a participator in our life or a bystander. And see, we are in our fate when we are being a bystander. We're just watching things happen around us, right? So this is important for us to understand the difference between being a bystander or being a participant, right? Because remember, fate is those predetermined circumstances along with our gifts and talents. Now, do we want to participate and nurture those gifts and talents? Do we want to participate and rise above the things that felt like obstacles before? Right? Do we want to rise above those challenges, or do we want to sit around and wait for something to happen? Right? Do we want to sit around and wait for our dreams to come true? And just wait for our gifts and talents to magically develop themselves? No, we don't. We want to participate. We want to participate because that's the game of life, being here and playing with these choices and exploring these choices. Now, one of the most powerful ways, if we're feeling stuck as a bystander, one of the most powerful things that we can do to move from our fate into our destiny is to practice embodying the grace of reverence. And the grace of reverence is what allows us to see divine source in all things, to see the spark of God in all things, to see the activity of source as everywhere present. Because when we see the activity of Source as everywhere present, this means everywhere becomes a possible solution, a possible option, a possible opportunity for us. When we see Source as the everywhere present force that it is, we can actually trigger a cosmic intervention. And then things in our physical world move around to be in our path when they are needed, or to be cleared from our path, right? We gain a greater awareness of our connection with the all. We'll see the signs and the wonders, the synchronicities. We'll notice the opportunities that we didn't notice before. We'll feel the courage within us, the fortitude and the strength to be able to move forward into this new unknown territory, which destiny is just on the other side of that. Our perspective expands, and wisdom becomes more important than just having an opinion about everything, right? With wisdom, and when we embody wisdom, we know it's okay to not know everything about everything. It's fine. Like, we just don't have to know that. We're wiser when we are curious, when we ask questions. You know, I believe it was Joseph Campbell who said that when you follow your bliss, I'm paraphrasing, but when you follow your bliss, doors will open where before there were only walls. Right? Now our bliss, I used to mistake bliss for this feeling of being like really super excited about something, like really like woohoo, right? But I've come to see it more as the feeling of being curious, excited, wanting to explore something. Okay, so this is where we go when we follow our bliss, when we are in wisdom, right? Instead of getting stuck in our opinions. Because when we are in the grace of reverence and we are embodying wisdom, we know getting stuck in our opinions keeps us small, and our life gets small. So here is our call to action, right? And I have an affirmation for you. I'll say it and then we can say it together. I am collaborating with Source Energy. I am collaborating with Source Energy. Now, Chiron represents our woundedness and our feelings of inadequacy, along with our gifts. Chiron teaches us that the medicine is in the wound. And the medicine helps us to develop our divine essence, our creative energy, right? That's our divine, authentic self. And as we learn to heal our wounds, we bring our medicine into the world. Now, destiny is not a guarantee. It is a journey into our higher self. Chiron made choices. Now, Chiron could have chosen to just feel sorry for himself and go hide in a cave somewhere, right? But he overcame. He overcame all that. Now we overcome and we learn and we heal when we choose to move into our destiny. So I have an invitation for you. You can ask yourself this question. I did. It was fun. What would I consider my predetermined conditions? Okay. What would I consider my predetermined conditions? What gifts or talents am I honoring? Or what gifts or talents am I writing off as wishful thinking? Am I thinking I need to be more practical? I can't give attention and love and energy to those gifts and talents that I think I might have, but I probably really don't, because why would I? Right? Are we afraid of failing? right? Now, fate gave us all of that to work with. And you know what? Our soul loves having a challenge to work with because it means going on an adventure. It means going on an adventure. That's why in the hero's journey, the hero's not sitting home comfortable in front of the TV. The hero is going on an adventure. Okay, so we're going on a healing journey, and it's an adventure, and we are launching ourselves. We are up-leveling ourselves, right? That's what we're doing. We're up-leveling ourselves in this game of life. Okay, so fate is the building blocks for our life, and destiny is the life that we choose to build, right? Destiny is a creative collaboration with Source. Now, when we take what we were given and we transform it into something greater, this is alchemy. This is alchemy. And that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. And everything you do, you are blessed. And so it is.